What is up, my dudes? Welcome to Storytime with the Reddit Fairy. My name is Lorna, and today we are going to be getting into some r/malicious compliance. I'm so excited. I haven't done this subreddit in a while, and it's one of my favorites, and like I said before, I've kind of been trying to stay away from it because I know a lot of other YouTubers cover this subreddit, but yeah, I'm gonna cheer myself up. I just submitted a whole bunch of resumes, so I'm going to reward myself with some malicious compliance. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Don't turn left? Okay. Posted by user NW342. I work as a delivery driver delivering large items to businesses and occasionally homes. The company uses big box trucks, kinda like a U-Haul, with 2 people per vehicle. Because of my age, I wasn't allowed to drive the trucks, so my partner, let's call him Dom, did all the driving. We had an agreement that he would drive, but I would do a little more lifting and other tasks in return. I finally turned 21, and my boss said I was cleared to start driving. This was great, and Dom and I agreed to split all the work 50-50, including driving. A problem started the minute I first got behind the wheel. It turns out that Dom is a huge backseat driver. It's scary enough driving a huge truck for the first time, let alone having a guy tell me how to drive. A few weeks pass, and I'm tired of the backseat driving. Cue malicious compliance. We were sent to a location to pick up a few items from a business. I'm unfamiliar with the location, but Dom lives in the area. I set the GPS and start driving. About 5 minutes in, the GPS tells me to turn. Dom tells me there is an easier way, so don't turn. I keep going straight. 10 minutes later, the GPS tells me to turn, but Dom gets mad this time. Why are you turning? Because that's what the GPS wants me to do. I know the way. Don't turn until I say. Okay, whatever. So I don't turn. I look over a few minutes later, and Dom is fast asleep in the passenger seat. I keep going straight like he wants me to, and wait for his instructions. It takes him a good hour to wake up and realize the huge problem. We are about a good 60 miles from the pickup location. He wasn't happy at all, and we were a good 2 hours late. He asked me why I didn't turn, and I told him I was waiting for him to tell me when to. I hope you didn't get in trouble for this, but that's pretty funny. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we're starting off on a good note. All right, let's get into the next one. Don't question the rules and do what you say? Okay, Karen. Posted by user Very Angry CNA. The nursing home I work in has gone through multiple members of management. Every time we get a new director of nursing, DON, we have a mandatory meeting where he or she will introduce themselves and the new rules they put into place. One of the ghosts of DON's past was one I'll call Karen. She had the haircut, the attitude, and the shrill voice. The first rule Karen set into place was that one CNA had to be on the hall at all times. Absolutely no exceptions. We were seriously understaffed, so it wasn't always possible to be always on the hall. Being one of the CNAs who has to work the hall alone a lot because there are no people who will come in to help, I of course tried to explain what the flaw was in her rule. She did that "I'm the dominant one" head tilt and interrupted me to say, "You don't need to question my rules." The next rule Karen set was that there would be absolutely no cell phone usage in the facility. All cell phones had to be left in our vehicles or in a basket next to the time clock. No exceptions. This ticked off even the members of the administration. The scheduler will text people to ask if they can come into work. The nurses use cell phones to communicate with the director and the DON when they aren't in the facility. People grumbled, but she yelled, "These are the rules. If you don't like it, you can find another job. CNAs are a dime a dozen." This is exactly what some of the CNAs did. We lost 4 more people right after that meeting, making us even more understaffed. This ticked me off because one of them was the best partner I ever had. So, here comes my petty revenge / malicious compliance. The first day I had to work alone after that meeting, I kept her words in mind. 1 CNA on the hall at all times. No exceptions. One of our VIP residents hit the call light within 10 minutes of my shift, wanting some brownies from the kitchen. The kitchen is off the hall, so I go straight to Karen's office, which luckily was on my hall. Karen, I'm the only aide here and Miss Carr wants some brownies from the kitchen. Karen, why are you telling me? Go get them for her. Me, you said there has to be 1 CNA on the hall at all times. I can't leave the hall to get them. Karen, then get another CNA to go get them for you. Me, you said we can't use cell phones, so I have no way to contact another aide. She gets up from her desk in a huff and gets the brownies. When she returns, she shoves the brownies in my hands and says, "Don't bother me for this petty mess again." Okay, even more compliance. Because she was stubborn, this malicious compliance went on for a few hours, so I'll shorten it into a list. No residents were harmed during the malicious compliance. Keep in mind that this all happened within 1 shift. I work on a very demanding hall with nearly 40 people on it. Before you say that there shouldn't be 1 CNA to 40 people, trust me, I know. 3 residents wanted to wash clothes or towels, but I didn't have any, so I couldn't go get them one. 5 more residents wanted snacks from the kitchen, but I was the only CNA and couldn't get them any. 2 residents wanted showers, which I could have done, but I wasn't allowed to leave the hall to find an aide to watch mine while I did it. The trash stunk like holy hell, but I couldn't leave the hall to take it out, so it stunk up the hallway and Karen's office. I may have moved the trash bin a little closer to her door. I couldn't pass out ice water because I couldn't leave the hall to go get the ice cart. Supper trays came out and I couldn't leave the hall to go get it. I'll never forget the look on Karen's face when I knocked on the door and told her that getting the residents fed shouldn't count as petty mess, so I needed her to go get the trays. Luckily, Karen was staying late and this didn't last longer than this one day. The residents kept complaining and finally, Ms. Red, our nosiest resident who crashed the mandatory meeting, led a lot of the complaining residents to Karen's office. One of those residents was Ms. Carr. She yelled at Karen so loud because she couldn't get her ice that people started peeking around the corner to see what was going on. Karen tried her hardest to defuse the situation and explain to Ms. VIP why the rule was in place. Ms. Carr was having none of it. Karen didn't know that Ms. Carr used to be a nurse, and that's why the director of the facility made her a VIP. After her tongue lashing, Karen came up to me, seething with anger. Through her gritted teeth, she said, "You can leave the hall as long as it pertains to patient care." She slammed her office door shut so hard that I heard something inside of it fall. I heard her say "shit" on the other side of the door after the crash. Karen didn't last much longer after this because the facility had a lot of demanding residents and an even more demanding director. I don't know what was happening on the administration side, but I hear horror stories all the time about it. FYI, when it came down to the things that residents were requesting but I couldn't get, I was going to get them anyway once Karen left. Karen tended to stay until 8 o'clock sometimes, and the day I worked alone happened to be one of those days. TLDR, head of nursing Karen said I had to be on the hall at all times, so she got screamed at by the residents who couldn't get what they want. Oh, sweet, sweet revenge. And that's some good malicious compliance. Oh, I am loving it. Good for you. I totally understand that they have rules like this in place for a reason, but you gotta sit back and reevaluate when these things get a little bit ridiculous. Oh, good for you, OP. Change verified. Posted by user MCPUX. My company has to keep records of all the changes we make to the client code. We use paper forms that are generated via a proprietary change management system that is at least 2 decades old to track when the code has been modified, who modified it, who approved it, and who published the approved modification. It's a whole process that literally takes about 20 minutes away from doing actual productive work to go collect signatures. Our manager recently added a new layer to this system that has us verifying our changes. Now, we always verify our changes, but now we have to make a record that we have verified our changes. This involves the team that publishes the changes to our servers messaging us through our messaging platform and letting us know that our change has been published. This accompanies a change number, example 51476, that is tracked in our system. He requested that we respond to that message with an acknowledgement that we have verified that the change has been completed. Now, we have hounded our manager for as long as I have been here to move to an all-digital change management system. We could even integrate it with our code versioning system to make it even easier for anyone and waste less of our time. But no dice. So we went along with it. I'm not one to ever take stuff too seriously, so I started having fun with my responses. McPucks, change 71277 has been published. I respond, give me a V, give me an E, give me an RIFIED. McPucks, change 32911 has been published. Verificado, mi amigo. McPucks, change 16144 has been published. Change number 16,144 has been verified. We get a laugh out of it, and I thought nothing of it. The following week, my manager gets upset at my responses. McPucks, everyone else just says change XXXXXX verified, and that is it. I want all of your responses to look just like that too. So no more fun. I found out from our publishing team that the reason he cracked down on me is that he is using an automated third-party tool to track our responses by listening for the word verified in the messaging channel we use to communicate our publishes. My fun was ruining his convoluted system. I hold no ill will against my manager, but I was a little bummed by his crackdown on my jokes. So I did what I was told. McPucks, change 16190 has been published. Change 16190 verified. Notice anything? Go ahead. Do a search on this page for the word verified. You'll notice that the last one doesn't light up. That's because that's not a V at the beginning. It's a V. The Cherokee letter do or do, I'll have to look that one up, but it looks like a V. So now when he runs his system, he'll see that my verifications are still not coming in, but my responses look exactly like he wants them to. That is perfect. Oh my god. So it's stupid in the first place that you should have to verify that a change has been made. Like, you submitted the change, so I mean, that should just be up to him or the software itself. Like, it should be automated, you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't have to track that stuff. This seems like it's just taking a lot of like time out of getting anything of actual use done, like the OP said earlier. But that's perfect. You can't really say anything because it does look like a V. The Condos Board of Carens told me to cover up my barbecue or be fined. Will do. Posted by user WeBangOK. A tiny bit of background. Our condo is probably the most visible in the complex, so we frequently have complaints about stupid shit. I.e., we got a notice a couple of months ago warning us about the indoor furniture we had on the patio. We bought 2 brand new anti-gravity chairs that one would put on their deck or whatever. Apparently, someone thought they too closely resembled indoor chairs. The most recent warning we got was about this ugly-ass barbecue we have that wasn't covered, which is now mandatory for whatever reason. In addition, they included a notice about our Christmas lights and a broom that we had hidden behind a pillar. To see these items, one would need to physically walk up next to our patio and peek behind the pillar. Anyway, we decided to have some fun with the barbecue cover. Okay, let's open up this picture here and see what they did with the barbecue cover. Okay, so it's a picture of him covering the barbecue with a blue tarp and some bungee cords. But I don't get it. I'm not understanding. Is it because it's a bright blue tarp or... Give me some insight here. I want to understand why this is such a pearl-clutching photo. But seriously, fuck homeowners associations. They're all just a bunch of fascists. Always trying to tell you what to do with your own home that you pay for. Get out of here. Overly compliant at the hospital. Posted by IDK-2-Put. It's my first post here, so I hope this fits in, and also sorry in advance for any formatting, cause I'm on mobile. So, at the hospital I work at, the policy is whenever you enter into a unit or exit, you have to perform hand hygiene. Pretty much sanitize your hands. The sanitizers have sensors in them and somehow monitor the percentage of people who enter the unit and perform hand hygiene, and each unit gets a weekly score of how well they perform. Thing is, I guess they do that for every one of the new sanitizing dispensers. Well, one person on the floor has one next to his office, and since it's not on a hospital unit and he's never doing patient care, he doesn't clean his hands every time he enters and leaves his office. It's just an office attached to the hallway in one of the hospital wings. So about 2 weeks ago, he got a compliance score of like 20% or something hung on his door, since they go and hang the score for each area based on that sensors to tell the system. I don't know how, but I guess he didn't like having a red sign hung outside his door that stated he wasn't compliant and managed to get his compliance rate to 102.7% this week. That was a little difficult to read, but so I guess he just he used it so much that it put his score up to 102? Did he just like use it, then like pull his hand back, then use it again, then pull his hand back? Yeah, I don't really know if that was compliant. Or, sorry, it was compliant, but not so much malicious. I don't see the malicious aspect. A contract can be used by both parties. Posted by user, fuck you if you fuck with me. This happened some years ago, when I had just got hired for a part-time position in a retail store. All was good until the summer got close, and he offered me full-time for the summer end, which I gladly took. Less than 2 weeks into the summer, he changed my hours back to part-time. I hadn't thought about getting the temporary full-time thing in writing, as he seemed like a trustworthy guy. It made no sense, as I did a good job and helped out with things my contract didn't mention when I had at the time, as I got bored quickly. I found out that even though he had years of experience in the field, he had massively overspent on the wage bill and had to cut down to avoid getting fired by the head office. When I voiced my concern over this, his only response, "I'm only obliged to give you 20 hours a week, as the contract states." I wanted to chew him out verbally, but I kept my cool and decided that if he wanted to play the game, I would play too. When I got home that night, I read my entire contract and noted the clauses that I could use. One clause stated that my responsibilities was unloading the trucks, take care of the stockroom, and keep the shelves stocked. Another mentioned that I shouldn't do other tasks, as their insurance only covered me for the specific areas I was meant to work. Next day, he told me to help out the cashiers as the lines were long. Sorry, can't do. As the contract states, that isn't part of my job here, and I should refrain from doing that. You can find it in my contract as Clause 9A and 9B. He was fuming, face totally red, and he just walked away without saying shit. Another thing I had noticed in my contract is that besides my 30-minute lunch break, I had a 10-minute break I could take when I wanted. So I gave him 5 minutes, walked into his office, and told him I was taking my 10-minute break. "What are you talking about? You only have one break, and that's for lunch." "My contract says otherwise. It's in clause 10. When I got back from the break, he asked me to clean something up out in the store. I couldn't believe that he couldn't take a hint. "Sorry, can't do. Clause 9A and 9B prevent me from doing it." Next day, a customer asked for my help with something. "Sorry, can't do. It's not my job. Find someone else." My boss heard about this and yelled at me, but I managed to stay calm and answered with the clauses that prevented me from helping the customer. Legally, I was in the right, and he couldn't do shit because I could see the hatred in his eyes. I was still on trial period, which meant he could fire me with only 24 hours notice, but I could also resign with only 24 hours notice. I knew that once the summer ended and everyone were back from their vacations, he would fire me right away. I had started looking for other jobs, and it was going all right, so I decided to quit at the worst time possible when it showed itself. At the last week of summer, he had to fire one person and suspend another for stealing from the store. It was the perfect time to quit and leave him badly undermanned for the week. 24 hours and 1 minute before my next shift, I sent him my resignation before I sent a message to my coworkers about how they should remember to take all their breaks and not violate their contract by doing stuff they aren't allowed to do. I heard it gave him a little chaos when people followed my advice. I'm never a fan of burning bridges, but this is not a place I would ever want to return to if that guy is still the manager there. So you were justified, I think. My manager voluntarily gave me my 2 weeks notice. Posted by user Murdered Cats. Last year, I worked at a small non-profit thrift store where my manager/GM of the store was very passive-aggressive and felt threatened any time I pointed out the flaws in her sales ideas or tried to improve certain workflows. After a few months and being assaulted by her husband for catching him stealing a TV and her blaming me rather than admit that if I was the customer, what would have made that different, I started looking for a second job. Now, I was only part-time and wanted more money and found another great job. As soon as I told her this, she was very upset and said, "Well, I don't think you can handle 2 jobs, so I'm voluntarily giving you your 2 weeks notice now." I adamantly refused, saying that no, my intentions were to work 2 jobs, with this being my primary. She said, "Well, think it over and we'll talk next week." Next week rolls around, and she says she already told her supervisors about it, to which I responded, "Look, you can fire me if you want to, but you cannot voluntarily give my 2 weeks notice. I've been the most consistent worker you've had all year, and I don't appreciate this." She shrugged it off and ignored me. Well, next week rolled around, and turns out literally everyone working there, including her, contracted a heavy flu that made it impossible for the others to come in. Well, the day of my last 2 weeks' notice had arrived, and I got a call from her practically begging me to come in on my day off, and all I said was, "Sorry, you voluntarily quit me, so I don't work there anymore." I went in just to see the carnage, and she was all alone, having to deal with the usual crappy customers and receive donations for at least a week. Needless to say, I don't feel bad for it. I hope you're not saying that all the customers are crappy, because it sounds like, you said it's a non-profit thrift store, so I'm hoping that they help people out there. But, that's pretty shitty and probably illegal. I don't think you can force somebody to give their 2 weeks notice. And the last story of the day is called Too Much Info, posted by user Waffle Raven. So years back, I worked for a large supermarket chain in Australia. At the time, I had a few medical issues which led me to be sick more than average. I would always give more than 24 hours notice and call the stores as soon as they opened in the morning. However, the woman who dealt with payroll always asked what I was sick with and why. This is illegal. As long as you have a medical certificate, you do not have to disclose what you are sick with, as it violates your confidentiality. I told her this, but she never took it for an answer. Payroll. No, that's not right. I have orders from store manager that we need to have written down what the person is sick with. We need symptoms to prove you cannot work with this condition. Again, this is bullshit and illegal. I didn't want to get stuck into an argument with her though, mainly because others I'd worked with who had argued with her suddenly found themselves mysteriously underpaid or missing leave, or not getting sick pay. Nothing proven, of course, but I didn't want to open that can of worms. So I ended up doing what she asked, maliciously. Me. Okay, well, I certainly understand you want to be sure I'm sick and why I can't work. Payroll. Exactly. Me. Well, for starters, I've been in the bathroom all day. I've had terrible diarrhea and have been stuck on the toilet all day and night. Payroll. We don't, Me. It's bloody too, as I have a bacterial infection in my digestive tract. The blood loss leads to weakening and iron deficiency. Not to mention I have also been throwing up too. This would obviously get in the way of work, as I'd be too weak and running to the bathroom every 20 minutes or so. Payroll. Mr. OP, we don't need to. The vomit is bloody too, by the way. Same bacteria. I am getting treatment from the doctors. They're fairly convinced it will clear up in a few days, but it can come back unexpectedly. For the time being, I need to try to reduce excess movement and keep my fluids up. Do you need to know anything else? Payroll. No, that's fine. I'll let management know. Me. Thanks so much. Payroll. No problem. Feel better? Me. Thanks! After that, she never asked me for what I was sick with ever again. She did ask others though. Eventually got disciplined for it because one of the workers' parents was a doctor and caught wind of it. She was heavily reprimanded, and as far as I'm aware, never asked after that. Also worth noting for any interested/concerned, my situation wasn't nearly as bad as I stated. That is definitely illegal. They cannot ask you. Like, even if you call and say, I'm not feeling good, I'm not coming in, they cannot even probe. Like, because it can be a mental day, it could be a physical sickness day, it could be anything. They are not allowed to ask you that information. So know your rights, people. I mean, that's how it is in Canada anyway. Pretty sure it's the same in the States. I don't think that that's allowed. Alright, my dudes, thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you liked it as much as I do. I freaking love r/malicious compliance. So if you liked it, as always, please hit that like button down at the bottom. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to be notified when I have future videos just like this, so you never miss one. And as always, the links to these stories will be in the description, so head on over to Reddit and show those posters some love with some upvotes. You know they deserve it. And while you're in the enchanted land of Reddit, head on over to r/RedditFairy and submit your story, because you never know, it just might show up in the next one. So until next time, stay classy, my dudes.